Hey-ya, hey-ya. See below. Hey-ya, hey-ya. Storm wind blow.
Chapter 9. Murderer. Sonara knew before anyone reached the gate. The workhouse did not tell her. The road did. Bodies changed the sound of stone when they carried death. Panic ran unevenly, heel first, breath tearing ahead of the feet. Anger came heavier. Grief came badly, because grief forgot knees. The lower road had all three. Sonara stood at the medicine shelf with a fever cup in her hand and listened. Inside the workhouse, Marel turned from the wash basin. Eri lifted her head beside the birth screen. The old patient who had slept through thunder opened his eyes. Then the first scream reached them. Murderer! The fever cup slipped from Sonara's hand. It hit the floor and broke. No one moved. Another voice came from below, raw enough to tear itself open. Murderer! Sonara stepped over the pieces. Eri said, Sonara, stay here. Her own voice sounded clear. Bodies did that sometimes. In disaster, one part of the mind kept working with cruel precision while the rest backed away from what it already knew. Lock the medicine chest, she said. No one leaves unless there is fire. Marel, if anyone wounded comes to the gate, sort them in the courtyard. Breathing first, bleeding second, noise last. Marel stared at her. Move. He moved. Sonara crossed the courtyard, past the washing basin, and went through the gate barefoot. The stones were cold. That bothered her. Not the scream, not the word. The stones. She had no sandals. A practical problem, a stupid problem. Her feet would cut if she stepped on shell grit in Smokehouse Lane. She should turn back and get sandals. She did not turn back. The road below the workhouse glowed with lamps and running bodies. People poured upward from the root house and the docks, not as one crowd, as broken currents. Some ran toward the workhouse. Some ran away from the root house. Some stood in the lane with hands over mouths, useless and human. A boy saw her and stopped so hard a man struck his shoulder from behind. Sonara, he said. She knew him. Tavi from the Shell Quarter, 16. Knife scar over the left thumb. Poor hearing in one ear from a reef blast. He had been one of the boys loading water jars. His face was grey. What happened? She asked. His mouth opened. Nothing came. What happened? Tavaro, he said. The road went quiet around them. As if her name had become a bowl everyone feared to drop. Tavaro, what? Tavi looked toward the root house. Sonara walked past him. He reached for her arm, then thought better of touching her. Good. Some part of him wanted to live. Sonara, he said, do not go in there. She went faster. The root house stood with its door open and green light leaking down the steps. Below it, the lower market had frozen around half-carried bundles and dropped rope. Beyond the market, the main pier still worked in broken flashes. Lamps, bodies, water jars, hull shadows, a line of people trying to decide whether a dead prophet changed the tide. The root house had always been too close to the harbour for quiet. Tonight it held too much. People crowded the lower hall, pressed against walls and benches, half turned toward the stair. No one blocked Sonara when she entered. Bodies parted because she carried no weapon, and all of them knew she was dangerous anyway. The smell hit first. Blood, not the thin iron of a cut hand, not birth blood, not fish gut. This was heavy, hot, opened-body blood. Blood from deep places that should have stayed closed. Her foot slid on the first stair. Someone gasped. Sonara caught the rail. The wood was sticky. She looked down once. Blood. Not enough for all the screaming. Enough. She went up. The staff's presence felt wrong before she saw it. The air had the pressure she had learned to hate during pale salt, gentle, persuasive, as if it wanted to set a hand on the back of her neck and guide her toward a truth already chosen. Halfway up the stairs, a woman sat against the wall, crying into both hands. Sonara stepped around her. At the top, Captain Maru stood in the doorway with a knife held low. Not a story from the pier. Not a captain's name passed through other people's mouths. Maru. Blood striped one of her knuckles. Her grey-black braid had come half loose at the nape, and the red cord on her wrist had darkened with sweat. Her stance belonged to a deck in bad weather, feet wide, shoulders square. Voice ready, before the body had permission, she saw Sonara and moved aside. Knives low, Maru said to the room behind her. No one lunges. Sonara passed her. The upper room had been remade for maps, and then broken. Shell weights lay scattered across the floor. Green root cords hung from the table like spilled veins. A water bowl had overturned, its contents spreading through blood until the floorboards shone dark. One chair was on its side. One wall beam had cracked down the middle. Lapo sat on the floor with Oren in his lap. For one moment, Sonara saw the room as a healer. Oren's robe torn at the shoulder, bone broken beneath cloth, blood at the mouth, blood at the ear, chest not rising, neck bent poorly, face damaged, too much facial damage for clean breath, skull likely fractured, no working path for the living to return through. Dead. Her father was dead. The knowledge arrived without sound. Then it waited. Lapo rocked him once, a small, useless motion, as if a body might be persuaded by rhythm. His mouth shaped words that did not become voice. His hands hovered over places no hand could mend. He was trying not to touch the wrong wound, because he had spent enough time in the workhouse to know that wounds mattered, that nearly broke her. Not Oren's blood, not his ruined shoulder. Lapo trying to be careful with a dead man. In one hand, Lapo clutched a small name tablet. Oren Weil. The ink had run at one corner. His fingers had closed around it so hard the edges had cut his palm. The root staff lay nearer than the tablet should have been. Sonara saw that. She stored it. Tavaros stood near the wall. He had blood on both hands. His right wrist bandage had split. The seam gaped through torn cloth. Blood ran down to his fingers and dripped from them onto the floorboards. His rib binding had loosened under his tunic. His face was empty in the way of someone whose mind had stepped away and left the body upright. He looked at her once. Then, down, the root staff pulsed on the floor between them, green light crawling through its grain in thin, uneven threads. Sonara crossed the room to Oren. The people nearest him made space. Lapo did not look up until she knelt. When he saw her, his face changed. It was not grief first. It was apology. Sonara, he said. Only her name, like a child, like fever, like the boy on the mat, asking whether Tavaro had come. She put 2 fingers to Oren's throat. No pulse. She knew there would be none. She checked anyway. Sonara. Lapo said again, "Do not say my name yet." Her voice had no heat in it. Lapo went silent. Good. She could still command something. She checked Oren's breath. Nothing. She pressed her fingers below the ribs, though the chest was still and cooling had not begun. She touched the broken shoulder, the wrong bend of the neck, the blood at the ear. Her father's body told the truth. It was finished telling it. Sonara sat back on her heels. For one breath, she was 8 years old, and Oren was teaching her how to hold a fish spine against the light to see where it would break. For one breath she was 12, and he was laughing because she had tried to stitch her own thumb. For one breath she was older and angry and telling him gods were not medicine, while he smiled because she had learned the lesson too well. Then the breath ended. The room remained. Lapo held Oren tighter. The body moved badly when he did. He felt it and went white. Sonara put a hand over his. "Do not lift him yet." Lapo nodded. He did not seem to know he had nodded. Behind her someone whispered, "He killed the root-bearer." Another voice answered, "He killed Oren Weil." The name, the full weight. Oren Weil. Father to Sonara. Father to Lapo. Healer, chief, fool, prophet, liar, savior, danger. A man reduced now to one position on a floor. Tavaro made a sound. Sonara turned. There he was looking at Oren's hand in hers, and some understanding had reached him through the shock. "Your father," he said. The words were almost nothing. Lapo stood. He moved so fast, Sonara barely caught his arm before he lunged. "Do not," she said. Lapo fought her grip for one breath. His body shook under her hand. Fever had once left him weak. Faith had made him hard. Grief made him both. He killed him. Yes, the agreement struck him more than denial would have. Sonara kept her grip. And if you go at him, he may stop you without meaning to. Tavaro flinched. She could no longer tell which part of her wanted truth and which wanted pain. Tavaro looked down at his hands. I would not. Lapo laughed. It was terrible. You would not. Tavaro's jaw worked. Maru shifted in the doorway. Knives stay low, she said. Grief can wait its turn. No one thanked her. The room obeyed anyway. Tavaro swallowed. I did not mean to kill him. The room inhaled. Sonara felt the sentence land badly before the last word finished. Not because it was false, because it was useless. She let go of Lapo and stood. Tavaro looked at her, as if she might give him the shape of what came next. She had done that too often. Named his wounds, bound his ribs, told him when to breathe, given him medicine enough to stand, asked him to stop Lapo, asked him to enter the line of harm, and then acted surprised when harm wore his hands. I did not mean to, he repeated, quieter. Sonara walked to him. Every person in the room watched. The floorboards were sticky under her feet. She stopped an arm's length away, close enough to smell wake thorn on his sweat, close enough to see the standing medicine still bright in his pupils, close enough to see the torn seam at his wrist, the broken stitches, the line sheath glimmering beneath blood. Her medicine, her dose, her hand. No, his hand. Both. What did you do? She asked. He swallowed. The staff showed me things. What did you do? It pushed at me. The line pushed back. I tried to take it away. What did you do? His eyes moved to Oren. Lapo made a sound behind them. Tavaro closed his eyes. I struck him. How many times? His face tightened. How many? I do not know. Then say that. I do not know. Did he strike you? No. Did Lapo? No. Did anyone? No. Did you draw the skybone line? No. Did you call a mark? No. Did the staff move your arm? He opened his eyes. That was the question he wanted. The one with room inside it. The one where magic could take a share. Where the rootstaff's green pressure could become a hand on his hand. Where medicine, shame, pain, and divine tools could blur the line enough to let him breathe. Sonara saw him want it. That made her hate him for one breath. Then she hated herself for seeing a patient in a murderer. No, he said. The word broke him, or opened him. It showed me, he said. It wanted. The line wanted. The medicine made everything simple. I was afraid. He was holding it. Lapo turned when he called. I thought if I let go. What did you do? He looked at his hands. I hit him. Sonara listened. The healer in her sorted the confession. Rootstaff pressure. Skybone line reaction. Standing medicine. Blood loss. Rib pain. Shame. Fear. Direct violence. Mortal victim. Fatal force. The daughter in her heard one thing. My father was alive until you entered the room. At any point, she asked, did you know you could stop? Tavaro went still. There. No staff pulse. No medicine excuse. No line hunger. No vision. Only the space between a hand drawn back and a body struck again. Yes, he said. The word had almost no voice in it. Lapo stopped breathing. Sonara did not. Where? Tavaro's eyes moved to Oren's body. Before the last blow, the room held it. No one needed to interpret. No one needed a speech. Oren's blood dried on the floor. Tavaro took one step toward her. She did not move. He stopped himself. A hand could open. He had learned that too late. Sonara, he said, I am sorry. The words entered the room and died there. She saw him understand that too. Tavaro, who had survived by making actions speak when need could not. Tavaro, who believed a wound could be answered by pain paid later. Tavaro, who had no tool for a harm he could not fight, bind, raise, or bleed against. Sorry was air. Her father needed breath. There was none. There is nowhere for sorry to go, she said. Tavaro's face went slack. Do you understand? He shook his head once. Not refusal. Failure. Sonara stepped closer. My father is dead. Your sorrow cannot enter his body. Your guilt cannot mend his shoulder. Your blood cannot trade for his. Tavaro looked down. The broken vial disc lay near his foot. 2 pieces. A hand, split open. Senara saw it, and nearly bent to pick it up. She did not. Not everything broken needed her hand. Lapo said, "Make him leave." His voice was very small. Tavaro closed his eyes. Senara turned back to Oren. She could not stand with Tavaro yet. She had stood close enough to ask what she needed. That was all the room could bear. That was all she could bear. Oren lay in Lapo's lap, one hand open, palm upward, fingers bent from old work. She had her father's hands, same long fingers, same scar near the thumb from a bad shell knife, same tendency to hold still before acting. She took his open hand. It was warm, too warm. Dead bodies should become cold quickly out of mercy. This warmth was indecent. The root staff pulsed. Green light slipped across the floorboard and touched Oren's sleeve. Lapo's gaze snapped to it. So did Tavaro's. So did half the room. The staff lay on its side, plain driftwood until the green moved. 8 pale knots marked the grain. Oren's hand had curled around those knots so often that Senara could imagine the shape of his fingers there. Her father had carried it back from the west. Her father had withheld its cost. Her father had believed. Her father had died with it near his hand. Her father was not the staff. That clarity arrived like cold water. Senara knelt. The room moved at once. Lapo grabbed for her. Tavaro reached farther. Maru cursed. Someone shouted. The staff flared green. Senara picked it up. The first sensation was not power. It was grief answering grief. The wood fit her hand, as if it had known the shape before she had fingers. That was obscene. Warmth rose from the grain into her palm, up her wrist, into the blood. Not heat. Recognition. The staff showed her Oren carrying her as an infant across the rainyard. Oren washing Lapo's fevered mouth. Oren standing alone on a westward boat, begging silent gods for Tavaro. Oren finding green light under storm water. Oren deciding that if old gods would not answer, he would not teach his children to wait forever. Then the images shifted. Ships at dawn, water shining, a route east, Lapo alive on a far shore, children running through grass. Senara saw herself, holding the staff, at the prow of the lead ship. People turned toward her, not worship, need. She could organize them, sort the sick, command the waterlines, break panic, make rules, keep bodies alive. Father's work would not end in blood on a floor. Lapo would live. The farbound would not scatter. Tavaro would not own the final shape of the night. Yes, the staff said without words. You can still hold them. Senara almost wept from the relief. Almost. Then she looked at Oren's body. Held bodies still died. She knew that. The staff had picked the wrong woman if it thought grief could erase anatomy. Senara tightened her grip until the wood pressed into her palm hard enough to hurt. No, she said. The staff's light flickered. The room froze. Senara stood with the root staff in her right hand and her father's blood on her bare feet. No, she said again. You do not get to make need feel like instruction. The green light withdrew into the knots. Not gone. Waiting. Fine. Let it wait. Lapo stared at her. Senara. His voice was small now. She wanted to go to him. She wanted to kneel beside Oren and scream until the roof opened. She wanted to take Tavaro's face in both hands and ask why the world kept making weapons out of boys nobody held. She wanted to break the staff across the table and grind the green out with her heel. All once. No treatment. The living came first. Listen to me, she said. The room listened. It was not the staff. She felt the difference. The staff waited in her hand like a creature pretending to sleep. The room listened because she had the workhouse voice. Because Oren was dead. Because Tavaro was bleeding and silent. Because Lapo was breaking. Because someone had to put shape around the next breath. Orenvile is dead. Lapo covered his mouth. A woman in the doorway sobbed. Tavaro killed him. Tavaro lowered his head. He says the staff pressed him. I believe him. He says the line answered. I believe him. He says he struck with his own hand. I believe him. No one spoke. All of that stays. The root staff warmed. Senara ignored it. She looked at Tavaro. You leave. His eyes lifted. You leave this room. You leave this house. You do not go to Lapo. You do not go to the pier. You do not touch the staff. You do not touch the line. His throat moved. What do you want me to do? The room hated him for asking her. Senara did too, because he meant it. Because he still looked to her for the shape of his body in the world. Because part of her wanted to give it. Bleed somewhere else, she said. That one hurt. She wanted it to. Tavaro bowed his head, not like a hero, like a man with no place left to put himself. He turned toward the door. Lapo stepped into his path. The room tightened. Maru shifted her knife point toward the floor, but kept her hand ready. Lapo stood inches from Tavaro, small beside him and shaking. Look at me, Lapo said. Tavaro looked. Say it. Tavaro's face had gone grey. I killed Oren Vale. Father. The word hit both of them. Tavaro whispered, I killed your father. And hers. Tavaro's eyes moved to Senara. She did not help him. I killed your father, he said. Lapo's breath hitched. For one breath, Senara thought he would strike Tavaro. He did not. He leaned close, voice low enough that not everyone could hear. Senara heard anyway. If you come near his body, Lapo said, I will forget how afraid I am. Tavaro closed his eyes. Lapo stepped aside. Tavaro walked out. No one stopped him. The room seemed to breathe. Only after his footsteps reached the stairs. Senara stood over Oren's body with the rootstaff in hand and listened as Tavaro left the upper room, crossed the lower hall, and entered the night. The staff warmed again. She looked down at it. I said no. It's green. Withdrew. Maru shut the door after Tavaro passed. Not all the way. Enough. Do we follow? A young sailor asked. No, Maru said. You follow him. You die tired. The boy swallowed. Maru looked at Senara. What now? The question should not have belonged to her. It did. Senara wanted to say, I do not know. She wanted to set the staff down, crawl beside Oren, and put her head against his chest as if she were small enough for him to carry again. Instead, she looked at the broken map table. Water tally, route marks, name tablets, Oren's blood, Tavaro's blood, Lapo's abandoned travel bundle, near a chair leg, the Farbound's whole future, scattered across the floor. Clean nothing, she said. The room stilled. Touch nothing, except the body, the root marks, and the water tally. I want the room ugly, until everyone who needs to see it has seen it. A woman whispered, Why? So no one gets to make it pretty before morning. The room accepted that, not happily. Good. Senara looked toward the young sailor with the knife. He straightened. Yes. Find 4 strong people with gentle hands. Bring a doorboard aboard. My father will not be carried like wreckage. The boy went pale. Yes, he ran. Lapo sank back to the floor beside Oren. He still held the name tablet. Blood had marked his palm around the edges. Senara crouched before him. Lapo. He did not look at her. Lapo. If I move, he moves wrong. He is already past wrong. The sentence struck him. His eyes filled again. She hated herself. She also needed him to hear. We have to lay him straight. No. Yes. He should stay here. He died here. He will not remain here. But the Farbound can learn that bodies matter before visions. He had no answer. Good. He had used too many tonight. Senara set the rootstaff against the wall where she could see it, and where no one could touch it by accident. Green light found the grain and waited there. Then she knelt beside Oren. She touched 2 fingers to his forehead, then his throat, then the center of his chest. Body, breath, work. The old vile farewell, older than the rootstaff, older than Tavaro's first island, older than every title people liked to put on grief. Father, she said. The word nearly failed. She made it stand. Oren Vael, keeper of the great work, root-bearer, fool, healer, my father, Lapo's father, dead by Tavaro's hand. Lapo covered his face. Sonara forced herself onward. He will be carried clean. His name will be spoken before the fleet. His death will not choose for us. The staff warmed. This time, she did not tell it no. She told herself, we will choose while knowing it. The young sailor returned with the door board, and 4 people behind him. Their faces were wet. One of them was crying too hard to see. Maru caught the man by the back of his neck and turned him toward the wall. Cry there, she said. Lift here. He obeyed. Sonara and Lapo moved Oren from the floor to the board. It took too long. Dead weight was different from sleep. Sleep helped a little. The dead gave nothing. Oren's broken shoulder shifted once, and Lapo made a sound like a boy struck in the dark. Sonara corrected the angle with both hands and kept breathing. Plain linen came from somewhere. Someone had brought it up without being asked. Good. Someone in the room still had hands. Sonara covered Oren's face last, not because she wanted to, because Lapo could not stop looking at it, and the room needed him breathing. When the cloth settled, Lapo swayed. Maru caught him by the elbow. He tried to pull away. She held. Lean, she said. I can stand. I did not ask what you can perform. He leaned a little. Enough. Sonara picked up the rootstaff. It was cool now, patient. That frightened her more than heat. She wrapped it in one of the torn green cloths from the map table. Not enough. Green still leaked through the weave, where her fingers pressed. Then she looked once at Tavaro's blood on the floor. It made a dotted path to the doorway. Not enough blood to kill him. Enough to make him seek help. If he were anyone else, he would not. She turned away. Downstairs, she said. Slow. Maru took position near the front of the board. On my count, she said. No chant, no comfort. A count? The bearers lifted. Orenvale left the room where he had died. Sonara followed beside his head, with the rootstaff in her right hand, and her father's blood drying on her feet. At the stairs, Lapo looked back once, not at the room, at the broken map table, at his abandoned bundle, at the place where Tavaro had stood. Then he looked away. Sonara, he said. Yes? What do we do? The same question Tavaro had asked in the courtyard. The same useless, necessary question. Sonara looked down the stairs, toward the crowded lower hall, toward the harbour bells, toward the ships that still waited, toward the workhouse, where her father's body would be laid out under lamps he had lit 100 times. We take him home, she said. Lapo's face crumpled. Then she tightened her hand around the staff until the wood pressed back. Then water first.
Heya, heya, road runs hard. Heya, heya, grief forgets knees. Stone tells death before the mouth. Blood climbs up from lower streets. Sonara held a fever cup when the first cry split the hill. Murderer rose from the road below, and all the workhouse still. Barefoot over cold stone, past the gate and broken cries. She asked the boy what happened. He could barely meet her eyes. Tavaro, he whispered. The whole road held its breath. Tavaro, what she answered, and walked down into death. Murderer, the harbor cry. Murderer, the green light burn. Father on the blood-wet floor, a son who could not turn. Murderer, the word cut clean. Past excuse and past intent. Sorry had nowhere to go, no breath for it to mend. The root house door stood open. Green light down the stair, blood on rail and floorboard, grief thick in the air. Maru held the doorway, knife, low voice of stone. No one lunges, knife stay down, let the dead be known. Lapo held his father like rhythm, might persuade. Hands afraid of every wound, green light burn. A father on the blood-wet floor, a son who could not turn. Murderer, the word cut clean, past excuse and past intent. Sorry, had nowhere to go, no breath for it to mend. What did you do? She asked him cold. The staff showed me things, he said, through blood. What did you do? It wanted, I feared. What did you do? I struck him here. How many times? I do not know. Did the staff move your arm? No. Did you know you could stop before the final blow? Yes, he said. And the room heard boom. There was no place for sorry. Her father needed air. Guilt could not mend the shoulder or lift him from the stair. The root staff reached for grieving green along the floor. Sinara took the grey wood up and felt it, asking more. Oh, and in the rain yard, Lapo saved from fever flame. Ships had torn and children running, all offered in his name. No, she said, with blood on her feet. Need is not command, and comfort can deceive. Murderer, the harbor cried. Murderer, the green light burned. A father on the blood-wet floor, a son who could not turn. Murderer, the word cut clean, past excuse and past intent. Sorry, had nowhere to go, no breath for it to mend. Orandale is dead, she said. Tavaro killed him here. The staff pressed the line, replied, all truths remain clear. You leave this room, she told him. Breathe somewhere else tonight. He bowed like no one held him and walked out of the light. Lapo blocked him at the doorway. Say it to my face, I killed your father. Tavaro said in hers, he named the place.